Guys, what's up? Welcome to the first video on the Staying Sport channel. I'm Finley, and I just thought I'd make this channel, I watch a lot of sport, really into the Premier League at the moment. Just all sorts of football, like, AFL, rugby, but it's mainly football, soccer at the moment. The past year, like, I've always been a fan of Chelsea. But the past year, it's been, like, every game, I gotta watch it, And that's not just because of the Champions League, alright? I was watching Frank Lampard football, okay? And I've been there since before Hazard, like I was there. I don't know why I chose them, to be honest. Probably because they were good. They did win the Champions League before Hazard, but I was a little boy. Would have been about 10, 11, 12 around that. And the main reason is FIFA, Australian kid doesn't see much about it, and then you get the new FIFA and you're obsessed, you know what I mean? But today I just thought I'd talk about like the Australian side of football and why we don't excel like we do in other sports, So recently, about a week, 2 weeks ago, I went to Melbourne, watched the Socceroos versus Vietnam. It's the road to Qatar. Australia won 4-0. We kind of knew they were going to win. Vietnam are very low ranked, but the atmosphere was crazy. It was a packed out stadium at Amy Park in Melbourne, and atmosphere. And Melbourne has a big Asian population, so it was pretty even between the Australians and the Vietnamese, which was awesome. Like, anytime Vietnam got the ball, would roar. They were very passionate. Even though the team wasn't that good, they really cared, and it just made for a sick game to watch. We were in the middle of the Vietnamese crowd because we got our tickets late, so yeah. And it's about that, like, Australia loves sport, and if we're good at a sport, we're gonna love it. So we don't really get that much high quality football in Australia until the Socceroos come, and even then we're not that good, but we get behind it because we always are there to support our country in other sports. And the example of this is the tennis. A couple of years ago, no one, like, you wouldn't go to like a random teenager and say who's this in the tennis, who's number one in tennis. But since Ash Barty has got number one Australian Open, you see Kyrgios and Kokkinakis doing really well there. They're not that good in singles, but they're entertaining people, and they won the doubles. Everyone was watching it. You ask someone, they're watching that game. So yeah, it's all about how good we are. An example of this is in 2018 World Cup, Australia versus France, and there was 3.4 million viewers in Australia. With a population of 24 million, that's pretty awesome that many people are watching it. But it's just, there's this thought of soccer that it's weak and they're flopping and all that, and Australia like to be like rough and tough, you know what I mean? So if you see here where these are the most searched sports, there's AFL, cricket, and football, and NRL. So that's like our big three sports in Australia. So you'll get Australian football, which is like in lower Victoria and stuff like that. It's slowly making its way up. Rugby league, rugby, all the way down to soccer. So that's a bit tough. Most attended, soccer's number 5. So people are watching it because people care, but it's where it's the most participated. It's not even on top 10. Now this has stuff like lawn bowls and 10 pin, which is not really a sport. So there's that, but it's just like kids are afraid to play because maybe their dad want them to be like this big rugby star that's like tackling people and all that. But when you start, and I'm guilty of it, I thought the same thing when I started watching the sport, like, oh, look at his Neymar guy, he's flopping, but you watch it, they're not really flopping. Well, some are, of course, but you need to do that to get the calls. I'm sure if they weren't getting calls for when they have to sell something, they wouldn't do it, but it's because they have to sell it to get calls sometimes that it looks bad. Yeah, so Australia are in quite a problem right now. We're third in our group in the Australian in road to Qatar. Let me have a look here. We're not doing very well. We drew to Oman, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, and then we got to verse Saudi Arabia and Japan, who are both above us. It's gonna be tough. So yeah, so we really gotta get that, because if we don't make World Cups, there's no chance people are gonna watch. Because we need to get bigger, and we gotta verse better opponents, people to care, and people to play. And also, it's our domestic league, the A-League. It is watched and people do attend, but it's more in like Melbourne and Sydney, where there's a lot of foreign people that love the game, they've seen the game come over, and now they're watching it like through older people and stuff like that. There's not many just there wouldn't be many 40-year-old Australian born men that would go watch it, whereas in the NRL they're always going to those games and stuff like that. It's kind of a problem with the talent, because it's not that talented. When we do get like a Liverpool come over and play a friendly against, for example, a couple of years ago they played Brisbane, which is the closest A-League team to me. I think Brisbane even drew or won that game. Like, packed out, because it's quality football and people want to see it. So yeah, I just thought there's a couple ways we can improve this. And also the women's game, we have one of the top 10 players in the world, Sam Kerr, plays for Chelsea. I don't know where she came in the Ballon d'Or. But I'm pretty sure it was quite high up. Third in the Ballon d'Or. I mean, that is outrageous. And you didn't hear a single thing about it in Australia. No one cares. That's a big problem, because she's so good. And the Matildas, I just think they got cogged out of the Asian Cup, which is something they really should be winning, because they're a lot better than the other Asian teams. But I feel like we were meant to compete in the Copa America this year, which would have done so much for us as a country in the international game, because we're only versing Asian countries when it's not the World Cup. So this against like teams like Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, it would have been awesome. Of course, COVID didn't let that happen, and I don't think we would have gone that far, but it's about the experience and just some recognition. So yeah, so it starts with the youth. There's a big problem. There's a big problem with like prejudice. Like, dads will get the coach and they'll be like, yeah, I know this kid because he's friends with my kid, and you should put them both at the academy. So kids that don't have connections will just slip through, and they won't get a career. But there was this story that I saw on the Born Offside podcast with Olin Teckers, that other fella, and that chick. Sorry, don't know the names. It's about this kid, Christian Volpato. He was in like coming up through the Australian ranks, trying to find a team, and A-League rejected him. They said, you're not good enough, you won't make it. So there was this coach, forgot his name, who said, okay, we're going to take you to Rome. And they were like, you're not going to make it there, you're not going to play overseas football. He's now playing in the top flight of Italian football in the Serie A for Roma. He came on in a game a month or so ago, and he's playing in the Serie A under Jose Mourinho, which is just crazy that Australia would let that guy slip through at such a young age. And I'm pretty sure there's a 15-year-old that just played in the A-League on the weekend, and he's African born, or he has Africa heritage. If they lose him, because I know a lot of African countries are scanning Australian prodigies who are from Africa to play for their national team. If we lose him, that could be a big problem, because he is this young up-and-coming player that we could just let slip through and possibly go to another league if he doesn't. Yeah, it's just a big problem with like all of that. Other thing is, young kids, their parents grew up with us being bad at the sport, and it being known as like this, oh, don't play that, it's a pussy sport, like, gotta tackle someone. Like me, I played rugby in AFL. I never played it, I never played football, I might. See how that goes. But yeah, it's just a big problem with how we're brought up and taught to not play this sport, not like this sport. and that's why you don't see people following their Australian team. I don't watch the A-League. I probably should start watching it to give support because I'm part of the problem. But yeah, it's just a problem that we need to fix, and yeah. So I just thought I'd talk about that for a little bit as the first video on the channel. I want to try to do some Chelsea reviews and previews of games, but it's hard for me because games can be like 2:30 in the morning, and after that it's like 4, 5, people are sleeping in my house, so kind of hard to do that, but I will try sometimes. And yeah, I'll just try other sports. I'm big into the NBA and stuff like that, so there'll just be videos on everything. We'll see how it goes. Hey, I could be doing this for years, I could be doing it for a month. But anyway, if you stop by and watch, give it a like, subscribe. You don't have to if you didn't like it, do you? Don't subscribe. Subscribe and then unsubscribe. That makes you feel better. But yeah, cheers guys. So yeah.